All righty, it's 1:02, so we'll go ahead and start. And what we're going to do, just to give you an idea, we're going to finish up, work on chapter 12 today, cover that. And then next class, we'll just, I'll come in and quiz you guys, review a little bit for the test, and I'll open up the next test. And from there, we'll kind of move. I'll let you know where we're going from there, because a lot of these chapters we have left go a little deeper than what I'm wanting to. I may pick a couple of them that will not be too terribly boring and all for you guys. I'll try to come up with some stuff to do as we finish up, but we're not going to finish the entire book, and that's by design, because some of it I think is a little beyond intro to therapeutic rec. You know, it goes as you go farther through the minor, if you're in the minor, and if you're not, you need to think about it. But if you're not, if you are and you're going through more of my classes, then we'll cover a lot of the stuff that's in these other chapters that we're not going to hit during this class, and you hit them a lot harder as we go farther into the minor. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and we'll just jump into the PowerPoint. Run through it. I'll give you all the little tips that we might have as we go through. So as it says here, we're talking about aging and the lifespan and how that affects us in recreation therapy. One thing of note, Americans are living longer now. We know this. We're getting better at medical practices. Life expectancy has grown. Women live 6 to 7 years longer on average than us men. I don't know if it's because we're stupid or if it's just like a genetic thing. Usually, just kind of a stat that I found, women live 15 years on average as widows, and are but they're less likely to remarry than men are. Just something I saw that I thought was kind of interesting. And the majority of adults that are 50 and over, they want to stay in their own home as long as possible, which I think we could all relate to that. A lot of people have had family members that eventually got to the point where they were unable to stay in their own home, but obviously they wanted to be there. I've got an aunt right now who is going through some stages of dementia, and I was talking to her the other day, and of course she tells me the same thing several times, but one thing that she told me very adamantly is that she's going to get another car, and she's not moving out of her house, and her family there in Texas are trying to figure out a way to get her to give up on this car thing, because obviously she doesn't need to have a car anymore, but she thinks that she does. Just like I don't really think she's in position to stay by herself anymore. But we'll talk about during the chapter some of the theories of aging successfully. We'll talk about some services that are offered through recreation therapy, like adult day centers, assisted living facilities, and nursing homes. What type of activity offerings are there? And then the different type of modalities that therapeutic recreation specialists can use when we're working with these older adults. So change in prevalence rates. There's about some of the things that we've seen. There are 10% of older adults that live below the poverty level. That was in 2002. It's a higher number now, actually, than it was then. Obviously, it's an ethnically diverse group. There's a large distribution of gender and marital distribution. There's a decline in resources for the elderly, and that's one thing that is helping recreation therapy to grow, the fact that we can provide services to adult clients that are older. And they have some of their own unique characteristics that make it either a group that you would enjoy working with or a group that you would not. I've worked with older adults. Some people like to work with older adults. Some people like to work with kids. Everybody has their own preferences on that. One thing, most older adults have at least one disability. We're talking about people that are at least over 50. I was talking about the poverty line. Older Hispanic women, 40% of those are beneath the poverty line. And talks about residency here. Health reasons is the number one reason for a change in residency for older adults. The quality of their current home is another. And affordability of housing, that is a factor as well that has to do with the residency of older adults. That's just kind of some info, not so much therapeutic recreation based, but still factors into what we do. There's some theories that are here. You need to recognize these theories, be able to pick them out for a test, maybe tell what they're all about. Activity theory versus a disengagement theory. Basically, activity theory is when older people are active and they are engaged with life, stay energetic, they age more successfully and have better satisfaction. That's kind of what the activity theory is. They stay active, they age better, they have more positive experiences as they get older. Disengagement theory is kind of, some older adults take this approach, and what it is they decrease emotional ties with other people and society as a whole, and become self-occupied. They think that they can experience enhanced life satisfaction later in life by disengaging. Now, to me, that theory seems kind of like a sad theory, but I can understand how some of the things that you would deal with earlier in life, you would not need to, if it was work and things like that, you can disengage from that, but you wouldn't want to become a recluse and disengage from everything, obviously. The continuity theory, that's next. Basically what that says is that people develop habits and attitudes, preferences, relationships while they're growing older, and these prior attitudes are good predictors of how they're going to age and their adaptation to getting older. Basically, the way that the habits they get, the people they hang around, their attitudes are going to carry on as they become older. Selective optimization with compensation theory, figure 12.1 in the book. I left that here. Not one that I'm going to dive deep into here, nor the socio-emotional selectivity theory. Those are not the activity theory, and the disengagement theory and continuity theory are the ones that you really need to note on this particular slide. So now we'll talk about them a little bit one by one. The disengagement theory, as it says here, it says people enhance their life satisfaction by decreasing emotional ties with others in society and becoming more self-occupied. Does that sound like a way to enhance life satisfaction to you guys? I mean, for someone who's an introvert, kinda. I mean, you may already kind of be that way. Um, it's just a theory. So theories are just thoughts, and some people this may work for. It's one that I don't really get so much. Activity theory obviously refutes this idea. It says older people are happier when they stay active, when they're engaged in life and energetic. And those are some things that recreation therapists are able to help them with, um, providing programming and activities and things to keep them up and moving and active and engaged. Um, Therapeutic recreation programs are used to assist older people in finding meaningful leisure. And we've talked about before how leisure education is part of what we do as recreation therapists. We don't just provide activities, we also provide the information that people may need to be able to participate in leisure that's meaningful to them. Continuity theory. Again, people develop habits, attitudes, and preferences, relationships while growing old. Um, they feel through this continuity theory that maintaining these aspects of life is important as we age. So everybody's going to adjust differently. Obviously, not everyone ages the same. Not everyone has the same issues that come up with age. This theory, it emphasizes individual differences and the fact that everyone is different. Understanding personal lifestyles, attitudes, and preferences of our clients is important. And that's a big part of when we went through the therapeutic recreation process, API, assessment, planning, implementation, evaluation. Assessment is the part that we did up front, and that's where we can find out a lot of this information. We find out what their lifestyle is like, what sort of attitudes they have, what preferences they have regarding leisure and recreation. And those are the things that we can use as tools when we're working with them. So again, that shows how that process is important and where we can find out things like our client preferences. A little bit more about this selective optimization with compensation theory. It says that successful aging is an adaptation process that minimizes loss and maximizes gains, and we all can see how that would be a positive thing. We want people to maintain as high a quality of life as possible. And that's something that we can help them with, whether it's helping them maintain daily living skills through exercise and keeping them strong enough to walk distances. They still, even though they're aging, they're adapting and they can still have gains, positive changes. And we can fight to minimize loss, even with people who have something like, Parkinson's disease, which is degenerative and it's going to continue to affect the person. If we can work with them and keep them from deteriorating, if we can keep them where they are and keep them functional for longer, then we're doing our job by minimizing loss. Some of the strategies for adaptation are selection, optimization, and compensation. Again, this one's not a really big one that is used a lot, that I've heard a whole lot about prior to just being in the book. Life transform with aging, but it can still be satisfying. Socio-emotional selectivity theory. This one is talking about how people are motivated by a variety of goals to have social contact. And there's several things in our lives that we're going to need, that everyone basically needs. We need emotional regulation. Basically, we're talking about appropriate responses to emotions, trying not to get into long periods of despair, learning how to regulate our emotions and able to function appropriately. Development and maintenance of self-concept. We've talked a lot already about self-concept and how we can help with that in recreation therapy by giving people opportunities to be successful, to feel better about themselves, whether it's completing a project that they do on their own that we, help provide them, or working as a team building sort of things, where they are able to be successful, and thus their self-concept or their opinion of themselves is going to be better. They'll feel better. Another thing that persists through life is information seeking. We should always, try to learn new information. We should always ask why when we see things that we don't understand. So those are some of the goals that motivate people to have social contact. So you may be looking for information through contact socially. It also says here that friendships are important to well-being. I would definitely agree with this. And as they get older, they may have fewer associates than younger people do, but have the same number of close friendships. Their circle isn't as big, but their friend circle, true friends, stays about the same as younger people. So some work environments for recreation therapists. Adult day programs. They are community-based services. What they generally do is provide a respite for the family who have, they've got an older parent who has health difficulties, maybe dementia, something like that, and they have to have a caregiver. These adult day programs are safe spaces for them to go during the day, where the family members or caregivers can go to work and do their things. They're usually open, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., something like that. And I know this is a pretty old thing, but in 2003, there were about 3,500 adult day centers that were available. Probably about 5,000 short of what is really needed to serve the older population as it gets older and older, and the baby boomers are a factor. What that equates as far as recreation therapy is a lot of jobs potentially in the field. That's a lot of adult day centers that are providing recreation therapy opportunities. So there's a lot of jobs potentially there. Each of the adult day programs are going to be a little different. Some are more work-based. They have tasks that they can do to keep them busy. Some are strictly recreational in nature. There's an example, table 12.1 in the book, that tells about some examples of programs that are offered. Assisted living facilities are kind of on the continuum. Adult day programs are the ones who need the least amount of care. Usually, they're a little more independent. They can do things pretty much on their own, and they can still live at home. That's the key. Assisted living facilities, they need less medical care than, let's say, a nursing home patient would. Assisted living facilities are usually kind of like apartments. We have Azalea Gardens here in town is one that is like this. It's an assisted living facility. Very nice. They do a lot of good recreational programming with their people that live there with them. what they're for, assisted living facilities, it allows them to, even though they're not able to, say, be at home, they're able to have their own place. They're able to keep their dignity because they're still living alone with some freedom. They are able to make choices. They have privacy. They keep their independence as much as possible. Um, their family can know that they're safe because they do have people that can check on them as needed. And they also, one good thing about these assisted living facilities, they're really good about trying to get the families involved to come visit. They have programs and things like that. And they also get the people that live there out into the community to do activities and things like that. So they keep them engaged with family and the community. So that's important. Nursing homes are for people generally who need more medical care than someone who would be in assisted living. Um, Obviously, they're unable to live at home anymore. They don't have anyone at home that can care for their needs adequately. And a thing that you find in nursing homes, I'm not sure how many of you have been in nursing homes. There, now there's really good ones, and then there's some that aren't that great. But you walk in, you see a lot of people just um, sitting in their rooms because they don't necessarily want to come out. And as a recreation therapist, you need to have some inviting areas, some comfortable activity space that's going to encourage high levels of participation, because you can't force these people to do things. Um, a good recreation therapist is going to be a good motivator. You know, you can drop by, hey, Miss Jan, come on out. We're going to do bingo today. Why don't you join us? Come on, you'll have fun. You know, try to get them to come out, and by having a space that is different from the sterile nursing home environment that you see, you know, have it decorated according to what time of year it is, things like that. That's going to encourage better participation and people to want to come and hang out. You're the fun place for them. The good thing about it is you're not just the fun place, you're also giving them some much needed interventions if you're doing recreation therapy as it needs to be done. Some long-term care strategies. There's changes in how things are being provided to older adults. It's getting better. You know, there's more geriatric individuals, so there's more places opening. We're learning more because there's more elderly that are being served. So we've got a better knowledge base. So overall, it's getting better, although there is a need for recreation therapy to still grow with this group. You have a focus in this age. You want to provide them with choice. You want to try to give them as much control as possible and a sense of comfort. And that's very important, especially, you know, one group that we work with are people with dementia. And people with dementia, they feel very uncomfortable a lot of the time because they're kind of confused. So if we can provide them with choices where they feel empowered, and if we can, you know, give them a sense of comfort through the area we're in, through the things that we're doing, then we're doing our job. So dementia is basically a loss of intellectual functioning. Generally includes memory loss, loss of some functional skills. You see that also. And also some behavioral symptoms like agitation that's not normal. You know, people that have never been aggressive can start to become aggressive when they start to have dementia, especially as it moves along. You'll see them doing things like wandering around, sometimes yelling, repetitive vocalizations. They may just yell the same thing over and over. That's not them misbehaving. That's them having dementia and being confused and scared. And that's what's happening. So our role, like I said, is to provide them comfort, choice, confidence, a good thing to use with people who have dementia. A lot of times is music. Music therapy is a great thing. It gives them, reminiscent feelings. Reminiscing therapy is a good thing. You can do things where they associate items from the past. It may be a blue balloon that takes them back to a birthday party 30 years ago. But certain songs have especially been shown to, and certain music, to kind of take them back to to a time earlier, and they can actually remember those things. And it's kind of a cool thing that we can use in recreation is music to help to bring back some of that. 1 in 10 Americans that are over 65 have some form of dementia, and we really just need to work on functional abilities. Even though there's a decline in mental ability that we cannot really help, we can still work on keeping their functional abilities as high as possible, whether it be writing, communicating, things like that. So art therapy is good, music therapy, pet therapy is fun with a lot of different groups. It can be good with dementia patients for sure. Things such as, arts and crafts, even involving things like clay, things like that would be good for people this age, giving them a chance to express themselves in some way or another. There's this culture change that it talks about here at the bottom. There's a shift from the medical model to the community home model. And I talked about this a little bit before. There's a push for deinstitutionalization. And institution is a kind of an ugly word, but it basically is saying trying to get as many people out of facilities as possible and out into the community. And there's funding reasons for that. There are, Medicare plays a role in some of the thoughts behind this, but they want as many people to be in their home or in the community as possible. Now, that's not possible for people who have advanced dementia and they need medical care. You couldn't have them at home because the general person would not have the skill set to be able to give them what they need. There's some facilities called Eden Alternative facilities that are a lot of times very much focused on dementia, and they work on different strategies. They even come up with new plans for trying to treat people with dementia. This actually was a relatively short chapter, and I know that you guys are super upset about this, but I'm going to let you go today. Short and sweet. Next time we come in, we'll review for the test. Excuse me. So try to be here next time, and we'll review for the test. I don't like to give a whole bunch of surprises, so I'll try to do my best to at least go over some of the stuff that's going to be on it. I believe it was this class, and I can't swear to it. I did a whole bunch last night of Blackboard stuff. I think I put a study guide up. Can anybody confirm that? Did anybody see it? Yeah. Okay, good. That's a very, very good study guide for this test. If you go through that and you know the stuff that's on that, you will do well on the test, I can tell you. A lot of what we will go over on Tuesday will be that. After, probably immediately after class, I'll open up that next test for several days. So I'll let you know at that point. But any questions, comments, anything at this point? You guys good? Hanging in there? All right. Well, thanks, guys. I'll see you Tuesday. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you.
You bet. Bye, guys.